32121.
Progressive Motorcycle presents Road Wisdom from the Motor.
Half man, half motorcycle.
You never really stop riding in your mind.
Never.
Unless you're thinking of something else.
Like other thoughts.
Progressive Motorcycle also presents Roadside Assistance. Progressive Motorcycle, for those who were born to ride. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Redmont Vodka and Vulcan Gin, Alabama-made premium quality spirits, owned by our very own Charles Barkley. 8 times distilled, gluten-free, and non-GMO. Whether you choose to sip Redmont on the rocks or blend it with your favorite mixers, you will definitely be able to taste the difference. Pick up some Redmont Vodka and Vulcan Gin today. Available in ABC stores and package stores. For more information, visit us at RedmontDistilling.com. Also, follow us on Instagram at Redmont Distilling. Support local, enjoy responsibly.
To avoid things grinding to a halt,
or blended with your favorite mixers, you will definitely be able to taste.
you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
What can give you a competitive edge in today's red-hot housing market? Rocket can. That's because Rocket Mortgage can give you a verified approval. It could help your offer stand out because when you find the perfect home, you don't want to lose it to anybody else. Rocket Technology provides a rock-solid verification of your income, assets, and credit, giving sellers and their agents greater confidence in you. We've already helped over 1 million clients just like you.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama.
Alabama!
Your home of the Crimson Tide Sports Network.
Good morning from the traffic center. We've got a good-looking morning so far. No wrecks, no stalls, no traffic signal problems to report. You be careful. Get an early start if you can. Things can change quickly. Great summer start at the Y. You can kayak, zip line, go on the giant swing or the blob, all at Camp Chalakee, chalakee.org, or just call the YMCA. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jap Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the WZDX Ben Plainte Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A beautiful Monday afternoon across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. Plenty of sunshine, not a drop of rain in the forecast. Temperatures hanging out in the low and mid-60s. Some of us could creep into the upper 60s, which is actually right about where we should be this time of year. We're going to drop into the low and mid-40s as we head into the overnight. Cloud cover will gradually build into the Tennessee Valley through the later part of Tuesday afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brett Musburger's Action Update. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all of your car care needs. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day. Now, here are the latest lines from my guys in the desert.
A week from Thursday, the start of the Masters tournament. Dustin Johnson, the favorite at plus 800. Bryson DeChambeau at plus 1100. Justin Thomas plus 1350. The Elite Eight getting started tonight with the first 2 games. Oregon State an 8.5-point underdog against Houston. The over-under 129. Baylor -6 against Arkansas. The over-under 148.5. Tomorrow, USC plus 9.5 against Gonzaga. 155 total. And Michigan -7.5 against UCLA. 136.5 the over-under. Women's basketball, the Elite Eight tipping off tonight. Baylor a 4.5-point underdog against UConn, the over-under 138.5. Indiana -3 against Arizona, 123.5 total. I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, 888-644-ESPN. That's 888-644-ESPN. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
All right, here we go. And just like that, we say welcome into another brand new week. It's a brand new live edition of Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. We say welcome in on this Monday morning. we invite you to be a part of the show. We got a myriad of ways, as we love to say. You can give us a call on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, 1-888-644-3776. We're like good psychiatrists or psychiatric help today. We're here for you if you need it. 1-888-644-3776. Why? We're going to recap Alabama and UCLA's Sweet 16 game last night. We'll get you ready for tonight's Final Four. The SEC could have a team in the Final Four when it's all said and done. After watching all the games this weekend, got a lot of things to ask about college basketball. Indiana hires their next head basketball coach. We'll talk about that. Trevor Lawrence making headlines over the weekend. Is he right? Or really is it a who cares, let him do what he wants to do situation? We lost a big piece of college football over the weekend, a piece that has Alabama ties, the NFL making some news this weekend. We've got a lot of stuff to get to. But we're going to get to all of that here in just a little bit. We appreciate you. Don't forget, we're on Facebook Live, Twitter, Twitch, and on our brand new YouTube channel as well. So you can catch the show there live each and every morning. And yesterday, you had your chance of 4 games on the hardwood. The Alabama game and the Alabama-UCLA game provided probably the most excitement, especially in the closing seconds for Alabama.
Herb trying to get it in, looking, gets it in. Quinterly getting it front court. Reese for the tie. Bottom! Alex Reese hit the 3, and we are going to overtime.
How about the senior stepping up, making up for the mistake of another senior who just missed the free throws? Alex Reese, we didn't know if he'd play here in the second half. He was hurt. He was questionable coming back with a lower leg injury. He's in the game, knocks down the 3. We have overtime. Unbelievable.
Alabama, Drew, falls in overtime, 88-78, but Alex Reese providing the excitement, getting Alabama to overtime. But ball just would not go in from the free throw line, would not go in from the three-point line for Alabama yesterday.
No, and credit UCLA. They outplayed Alabama. Now, if they played 10 times Alabama,
Spencer,
I'm very confident in that. But see, that's not the NCAA tournament. You get one shot.
Yep.
And, Alabama shot very poorly from the free throw line. And everybody's going to, magnify Herbert Jones. And I'm so disappointed for Herbert because he meant so much to the team. Player of the year in the SEC, best defender. Really, it threw Alabama off when he got the 2 charging calls, which were good calls, by the way. I have no problem with it. At the start of the game.
First 47 seconds of the game, 2 fouls.
He's got 2 fouls in the first 40-plus seconds. So, but he overcame that, honestly, finished the game. Only ended up with 3 fouls. Yeah. And there were some calls down the stretch of the game. I thought it was huge when and I still don't know if it touched Petty Schwartz. I guess it did. But Alabama was up 61-60 with the ball. That call got reversed, and went back to UCLA. And then there was what looked like a charge on Tiger Campbell before they got a bucket late, but they didn't call that either. And then Juwan Gary looked like he got hacked on a shot inside. But all those, that didn't lose Alabama the game because, see, those calls or non-calls or whatever are magnified because you don't make the free throws. See, if Alabama makes 8 or 9 of those free throws, I'm not talking about shooting 90% or even 100% like they did the last game. They were 11 of 25. Say you're 18 of 25 or 19 for 25, you win the game, okay? But they just didn't convert. It's just like Alex Reese. And by the way, I'm so proud for Alex to have that moment we just heard. He was a senior. He hurt his hip again in the game, but he came back in. He had a shining moment, yesterday. Petty had, the great finish to the Maryland game. Herb had the great finish to the SEC tournament. Those 3 guys meant so much to this program. Alabama kids that stayed under Oates and helped turn this program around. But again, to show you the cruelty of basketball, Alex Reese from 30 feet, all net to take the game to overtime, misses 2 free throws in overtime after he gets fouled. I mean, it's just basketball. It just wasn't meant to be. Alabama lost the game. And so credit to Mick Cronin and UCLA. I think they're going to get smoked by Michigan. I think it would have been tougher, Alabama to defeat Michigan. But I really wanted to see Alabama measure up against them. I had picked Alabama to go to the Final Four. But, see, I had FSU putting out Michigan. Michigan handled, Florida State easily. So, we'll just have to wait and see. But, it's disappointing. But like I've told some people since last night, they want to focus on the 11 seed UCLA and, you lost to
just
an 11.
The number 11.
It's UCLA. You know what 11 means? They've won 11 national championships, okay? Don't pay attention to the seed. That is stupidity. Pay attention to the basketball. Quit putting your eyes on a 1-1. I don't give a crap what you're looking at here, and I stopped myself there. I've been frustrated since last night because they want to say, oh, you lost to an 11. It's not an 11. Does Oregon State look like a 12 to anybody?
Oral Roberts.
Or Oral Roberts, a 15. They were one shot away, and it was online of being in the Elite Eight and would have earned it. They're not a 15. Look at how good a basketball team they have, and quit having a football mentality. Too many people do because they don't understand the damn game. And that's just my rant for the day. I mean, and then you got an idiot like, on Twitter that's just he covers the Auburn Tigers. I'll let him go unnamed. But he says Alabama ends an underwhelming postseason by beating a 15, a 10, and losing to an 11. That's the kind of take where it just goes to show you don't understand what the hell you're talking about, and you're an embarrassment to the profession. Because like I shot back, I said, well, I'd be more concerned being underwhelming if you were being investigated by the NCAA and you had a losing season. Okay? Underwhelming. That's really just an ignorant thing to say.
Underwhelming would be a number 1 seed Illinois losing in the second round.
Virginia.
Or
losing
Virginia.
To University of Maryland, Baltimore
in
County.
the first round. That would be underwhelming. I don't know. We talked a lot about it, and I'm not defending everybody. We just talked a lot about at the beginning of the whole tournament that we felt like the NCAA committee underseeded a lot of these teams.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying UCLA, and our good friend Aaron Torres made a point to talk about it at the beginning of the thing, that nobody was talking about USC at the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. USC came out and dominated. USC is 1 win away from the Final Four.
They were a fascinating matchup.
They were 12-2 or 12-1 to start the year. Nobody was talking about UCLA or USC. UCLA lost 4 straight coming into the NCAA tournament. They lost 4 straight. That's the only reason why they were playing Michigan State in the first 4 is because of their 4 straight losses coming in. Had they not lost 4 straight, UCLA wouldn't have been an 11 seed. I mean, they would have been a higher seed than 11. So don't read too much into the fact that Alabama lost to an 11 seed. UCLA was in the Sweet 16 for a reason. But anyway.
Well, again, in Alabama, it's a disappointing end. But see, here's the deal. When you have a special year like they had, when you do the daily double of the regular season championship and the tournament, and you were picked to finish in the middle of your league at the start of the year, nobody thought 4 months ago Alabama would be where they are. But the deeper you get in the tournament, the harder it is when it comes to an end because you don't want it to end. Just like almost 3 years ago when Auburn went to the Final Four and lost to that heartbreaker to Virginia, almost played for the national title. When you make a run like that with a special group, and that was the best group in Auburn history, it's tough.
Yes.
It's very difficult to really accept that it's over.
Is it a disappointing way to end? Yes. Is it a disappointing season?
Completely agree.
No.
Heck no.
Because that loss there is disappointing because it was in Alabama's control if they win or lose.
Right.
If you make those free throws, yes, you win. If you miss them, that's what happened.
Your season one iota. Just like the way we talked about Huntsville High losing to Spain Park. Still as special a senior class as you're ever going to see. Sometimes the basketball gods just aren't with you, man.
Let's go to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Spencer with us out of the gates. Good morning, Spencer.
Morning, Spencer.
Good morning, Scott. Good morning, Drew. Heavens to Betsy. Drew, tell me how you really feel about it, man.
I never have a problem with that.
Amen to that, dude. Yeah, the heartbreaking point about last night was it wasn't that, we just got ran out of the building or, we lost to a better team. It was just, golly, man, when you lose and you have a chance at the end of the game and you just can't make the free throws.
Yeah.
That just it just hurts, man.
It does.
I mean, we were a great team this year. And I tell you what, that Alex Reese, I mean, you might as well name that kid Ray Allen. He is clutch.
Yeah, he was. That was a great shot. It's the biggest shot of his career.
Just last night, though, Drew. It wasn't just.
Oh, yeah, he was great in the whole tournament.
Year.
Yeah, I mean, he was great when it mattered in the tournament. And I'll be honest with you, Spencer. I thought when he made the shot that Alabama would win it in overtime. But to the credit of UCLA's toughness, they punched Alabama in the face, and they were able to dominate the game in overtime. It just wasn't meant to be. But, again, It doesn't taint what these kids accomplished. They got Alabama basketball back to being relevant. And I got news. Alabama's going nowhere. Oates is recruiting lights out. Kids want to play for him. They want to play in this style. And I think, now – The thing is, I do think, next year, 1 to 13, they're going to be more talented potentially. But the thing that you don't know is the buy-in and the chemistry. And that's up to Oates and the staff to build. And they had great chemistry this year with a special senior class. It'll be a younger group next year, but we'll see, how they develop. But they have a shot to be really good again next year.
Yeah, Drew, that's one thing I wanted to ask you, man, is about next year. Because watching that game last night, we had 5 guards in there a lot.
Right.
And we had no answer for their big man, Riley. I mean, absolutely no answer. The
Correct.
dude was just dominating underneath the hoop. So next year, this is my question for you. Do we have a big man coming in that can be a dominant force, or are we just going to be small ball, shoot the rock, play fast all year long?
Well, they're going to have a lot more size. I'll just say that. They got a kid that sit out this year, Alex Chiku, who's a Frenchman, who's 6'11", who's got good perimeter skills, but he can block shots too. He tore his Achilles. He was out. And then you've got a kid like Keon Ambrose Hilton, who they need to develop, who needs to continue to get better, who has shown some ability to score in the lane, but he was not ready this year to be a big-time factor. And the other 2 things, though, that should excite people is they've got a jumping jack power forward coming in from junior college, and he's Langston Wilson. He should definitely give them an athlete inside that he can also play outside, but he's a guy that's not played a lot of basketball because he had a Marfan syndrome when he was in high school, but this is his second year at JUCO, and he's long, athletic. He's somebody that can block shots. He's somebody that, can help you around the rim. But the biggest piece is Charles Bediako, who they're hoping to sign and are the favorite to sign in April. He's a 5-star center at IMG Academy. He played with Keon Ambrose Hilton in Canada. He knows Josh Primo as well. He's 6'11", and can, play around the rim, can protect the rim, can rebound. See, because this roster this year was still short of a big man that could do that. Bruner was starting to get comfortable, but then he got hurt, and he was never the same. And so Alex Reese played his heart out, but he's not the most athletic kid in there that can bang. They need a rim protector and a guy that, like you said, Spencer, you just made the point, where if you're going to play 4 out, 1 in, that you can throw it inside and feel confident you can get a bucket, or if the other team does like UCLA was doing, that you can guard him. And see, I just think overall that's what they need. And then it allows Juwan Gary to not have to play the 5. And then it was a huge, swing last night too. When Gary got fouled, they didn't call it, and then he fouled out near the end of regulation, because he was the one guy that could bang a little bit with Riley and was athletic enough to guard him. And when he was gone, it really hurt Alabama inside and on the glass.
Yeah, that was a huge no call, man. And I tell you what, I was screaming at my television. I was surprised I didn't wake my kids up. I was yelling so loud. But y'all have a good one, man.
Thank you, Spencer.
Appreciate it. Pat in Tuscaloosa.
And, Spencer brought up a great point there, Drew. Alabama didn't get ran out of the gym. I think you would feel differently if Alabama had gotten – it was back
10 minutes. Yeah.
It was back and forth.
Yeah.
It was the best game of the day. Had Alabama gotten run out of the gym, had Alabama got ran out of the gym, that would have been different. Let's go to Pat.
He's gone.
Okay. But anyway, that's my feeling there. Now, Alabama, as you mentioned, 11 of 25 from the free throw line. UCLA, I want to say Cincinnati because of Mick Cronin. They were 20 of 25. Alabama, that free throw percentage last night was the worst in the NCAA tournament since Kansas was 12 of 30 in the 2003 national championship game. And lost to Syracuse. So, anyway, let's go back to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Pat is now with us once again. Good morning, Pat.
Morning, Pat.
Good morning, Drew. Good morning, Scott. Hey, I don't want to talk any basketball. I want to get to the who pays the rent. Alabama football. I want to talk about inside linebacker with Cahill leaving. Did Cahill see the handwriting on the wall that he wasn't going to play, or was he scared of competition, or is it the fact that he thinks that the NCAA and SEC is going to pass a one-time transfer rule, and Henry Toa is coming in to save the day? What do you think, Drew?
Well, Pat, first of all, Ali was a great special teams player, arguably the best on the team. He had trouble grasping the defense. He was not going to start coming into this year, not with what they had, even returning. They've got Shane Lee. People forget he had 86 tackles. They want to rip him. They want to say his arms are too short. They want to say he's too little. All I tell him is Sean Dion Hamilton. I mean, it's the same deal. But, he was hurt last year, Lee. It took him a while to get back from a sports hernia. He's back. He's going to compete. But, of course, I would watch Jalen Moody, who was very good in the stead of Christian Harris and Dylan Moses last year. So they're going to take a long look at Jalen Moody and Shane Lee. And then the Toa deal, there was a report in the last week and a half about him potentially going back to Tennessee. That was not completely accurate because he's still not on campus. He's taking classes remotely. Now, we're gonna get Vince Ferrara on this week to talk about this because we wanted to once again have him shed some light. But from what I understand, he's still not on campus and he's waiting until mid-April. Jake Crane, who does such a great job with the J-Boy show, he came on with us. He's been on with us the last 3 weeks and told us that April 17th is kind of the date to look for, mid-April, for the transfer rule for them to pass it. That's what Toa is waiting on. I still think there's an above-average chance he ends up at Alabama. I think his dad has a good relationship with Saban. I think he's waiting to see if that rule is passed. If it's not, he could go back to Tennessee. He could go somewhere else. But I think they're deep in the mix there. But it gives them the entire spring to take a look at Shane Lee and Jalen Moody and DeMoye Kennedy. He's a freshman, who came coming in from Mobile, who did not play much last year. Really, basically redshirted. Played a little special teams. He's really going to get his freshman year back. But he's an outstanding talent, and we'll see how much he learns as well. But again, I just think overall, Toa would be too good to turn down. He already knows the scheme because they do similar things with Jeremy Pruitt. So let's just be patient and wait, let it play out, and then take a long look at Shane Lee and Jalen Moody and see where Alabama is following A-Day.
Good deal. That's because DeMoye, you stole my thunder. DeMoye Kennedy was the next question because his accolades were too good for him not to produce. All right. Anyway, I appreciate you, Drew. Hey, y'all have a blessed day up there. And try to talk Alabama basketball people off the lead. And have a good one.
Thank you, Pat.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We will talk plenty of football here in the next few days because we will turn our attention to spring football. But when we come back, we need to take a break. We'll continue the college basketball talk. We'll check in with Nate Oates, and we'll check in with John Petty Jr.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
We got the all clear this morning. Traffic at a heavy level all across the valley, but we don't have any wrecks or stalls or traffic signal problems to report. You be careful on that ride in. You get 8 crunchy buttermilk shrimp, a side and biscuit, or 4 regular shrimp, a side and biscuit in Popeye's Shrimp Tackle Box or Surf and Turf for $5. Popeye's, Jordan Lane, North Parkway, and 72 at Jeff Road. Captain Nick in the Popeye's Skywatch Traffic Center.
Listen, if you're going to spend your hard-earned money on a new vehicle, pick a place with lots of choices so you can get exactly what you want. Hi, folks. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and today you can choose from over 75 Explorers with up to $1,750 in bonus cash. Woody Anderson Ford also has over 75 F-150s to choose from. And you could save as much as $13,000 off MSRP on a 2020 Ford Super Crew. Our best-selling SUV, the Ford Escape, is loaded with value this month, and you can get financing as low as 0% for up to 60 months on our 2020 Escape, or get up to $4,500 off MSRP. We've got financing as low as 0% for up to 60 months on select Ford models, and we'll always work harder to get you more for your trade. All incentives apply with your good credit. These offers end March 31st. Come see us during the Buy Ford Now sales event. Jordan Espartment and WoodyAndersonFord.com, Alabama's F-150 Superstore. Hope to see you soon.
Sitting here with Ann Adams of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Rise Real Estate. Is it a good time to sell your home, Ann?
Yes, it is. We have people relocating from all over the country.
Why should we choose Rise Real Estate?
Well, we've been selling real estate in North Alabama for 36 years and have sold more real estate than any other real estate company, period.
Do you help your customers through the entire process?
Yes, our agents are with you during the whole process from start to finish, from beginning to end.
In your relocation services, you have a whole team.
Yes, we have a dedicated relocation department helping customers move seamlessly into the area.
Ann Adams has been writing contracts for the last 36 years. She has the experience to help you list and sell your home, downsize your home, or help pick the perfect spot north of Alabama for you to build a future.
Call Ann Adams at 256-337-2625 or on the web at www.bhhsriserealestate.com.
This is Paul Feinbaum. Listen to me coming up today at 2. Now back to Talking Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
All right, here we go. All right, 7:24 on this Monday morning. We welcome you back to our Monday edition of Talking Ball. You can get in on the show right now, 1-888-644-3776. If you want to be a part of the show, we can get your reaction to last night's 88-78 setback for Alabama in the Sweet 16 by the hands of UCLA in overtime. That game coming in overtime, 1-888-644-3776 if you want to be a part of the show. As you might imagine, Drew, Nate Oates talking about the game being lost at the free throw line last night.
To me, free throws are always a mental thing. I mean, it's the same distance. There's zero variables in free throws other than the pressure you put on yourself mentally. I mean, I always tell the guys, turn yourself into a robot at the free throw line. It's the same thing. Do the same routine every time. So, yeah, why it became a mental thing, I don't know if some early misses by some guys made other guys start thinking about it. I don't have the answer to that. And it's disappointing because, if we make them, we win the game. And it hurts to lose a game knowing if you make free throws, you win. I mean, you look. I mean, obviously, we both shot 25 free throws. They made 20 and we made 11.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, as we reiterated, Bama 11 of 25, UCLA 20 of 25.
Yeah, and I mean, and I talked about the 3 close calls that went against Alabama, that could have changed the game. But again, the only reason those were magnified is because of the missed free throws. It wasn't the officials. Actually, it was one of the better called games I've seen. I thought a couple of times they swallowed their whistles. But at the end, when Herb Jones got fouled, they called it. You got to make the free throws, man. I mean, he went 1 of 4, down the stretch when he got fouled those 2 times. He makes them. Alabama wins.
Did it look like he was hurrying his free throws last night at all?
I didn't
Anything
think so.
different from his shooting?
I just thought maybe he shot him a little harder than usual.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, Herb had a good year from the line, almost 74%. I mean, he did struggle like crazy down the stretch with his three-point shot, okay? He didn't make any. But he'd been making free throws. And so, and the only coaching, decision that Oates made that I could somewhat question a little bit is down that stretch, having the ball in JQ's hands and letting Herb go to the offensive glass. In other words, if you miss it, Herb can go get it with his length and hopefully finish it or tip it in or whatever. But at the same time, Quinterly missed free throws. They all missed them except for Petty. Petty was the only one, and then Petty couldn't make one against Iona. So it's just basketball. It's wacko. It's why people love it. But the problem is there's so many people that don't understand it. That's the problem. And I mean, I love our community. We're a basketball community. But so many Alabama fans even have a football mentality. But I do think the majority of Alabama fans understand how special this team was.
Right.
And that they got Alabama hoops back to being relevant. They're going to be ranked next year in the preseason top 20, for the first time in a long time with, and I think maybe even the top 15 or top 10. I think they have that kind of talent. I mean, this is not fool's gold because Avery Johnson was one hell of a recruiter, obviously. He left Alabama with some really good players, but he couldn't coach them. And so, the only time he had high expectations or people were excited was, going into Con Sexton's one year, and they got to the second round of the tournament, and that probably maximized what they could do because they ran to the national champion Villanova Wildcats. But still, I mean, other than that, in the last several seasons, there hasn't been a ton of expectations because Anthony Grant sucked the life out of the program. And so, Avery came in there and he's, gave it some energy, got him was really good with the media. But now Nate Oates is a ball coach. He knows how to, and I think his best attribute is communication and getting kids to buy in. And so that's what's going to be fascinating because he had some really good seniors this year that helped him show the way. And hopefully these guys that are returning learned a lot from those 3 and 4 seniors, Bruner as well, about buy-in and being, selfless.
One of those seniors right here from our area, John Petty Jr. from Mae Jemison, talking about how special this team was.
I feel like the most I remember is just the bond this team created. This is probably by far one of the closest teams that I've been on, outside of basketball. We were always together. We were always bonding, and we were just so close together. So, I mean, I feel like that translated on the court, but I feel like mostly what I'm going to just remember most is just the bond we shared, just all the memories that we had, and just how hard, we fought for each other. I mean, throughout the season, if it was one man down, the next man up, and everybody had each other back. So I feel like that's what I remember the most.
So there you go. One question, though, and I've watched a little bit of the women's basketball. I don't want to go in depth on the women's tournament, but one of the things that is different between the women's tournament and the men's tournament, and the only reason why I thought about this was because of Alex Reese's last-second three-pointer. In the women's game, you have the option, that late, you call a timeout, you have the option of advancing the ball to half court. You instead of inbounding it away, and having to go the full court. Men's basketball does not have that rule. And I thought, man, do we need to see that rule moved to the men's basketball side where you have the ability to move the ball to half court and then inbound it to run the play? Or are we fine to leave it alone and go the full court?
I say full court, man. It's part of the strategy of the game.
Right, because that strategy was key because Alabama, the play that they ran,
perfect.
They did not allow UCLA to foul.
Yeah.
And you heard the announcers even say it if you watch the TV broadcast that Mick Cronin loves to foul in that situation.
But they didn't allow it because of the way they moved the ball. And then you look at Oral Roberts. Look at the play they ran.
Right.
It's part of basketball, man. This is not the NBA. May it never be the NBA. I'll puke.
Right. Men's college basketball is the only one does not have
high school
the advancing.
And college. That is basketball. The NBA is not. The NBA is garbage. It's terrible. They need to change a lot about the NBA. It is awful. It is unwatchable, played by turds. That's all. Except for Kyra Lewis and Colin Sexton.
Hey, coming up in
Chumo Kiki.
Coming up in the second hour in our headlines, we will actually bring up Kyra Lewis because there's something that we need to talk about.
He's starting to assert himself, man. I'm proud of him, man. He's really starting to do well.
Nate Oates talking about, though, the frustration of the game last night.
The start to the overtime, we give up that 3 out of the gate. I didn't think we needed to help. We did. And that's a tough one. And then they scored the second time. And all of a sudden, it just kind of built up. I thought we answered a little bit there to cut it. I think we cut it from 7 to 4 maybe. And just couldn't get the stops when we needed. So, I don't have an answer for why it didn't go well in overtime. I don't know if I'm even going to watch this game, to be honest with you. It was not one of our better games. I'm sure at some point in the next week, maybe I'll sit down and watch it. I'm not watching it tonight. I can guarantee you that, though.
Little NATOs. Richard.
Time to recruit.
Let's go to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Richard is joining us this morning. Good morning, Richard.
Welcome back, sir.
Oh, morning, guys. Yeah, tough one there, Drew.
Yep. Really tough because it's a special group of kids. But like I said, Richard, even if this group had broken through, got back to the Elite Eight, even if they had the fortune of beating a very good Michigan team, which would have been, they would have been an underdog and got to the first Final Four, no matter what happened, unless this team cut the net down, it was going to be disappointing because it's
well, every team. One thing about basketball, unless you're on probation, every team loses except the final one. I guess unless you're in the CBIT or whatever. But unlike college football, where you might win a bowl game, but in basketball, almost everybody loses. Their last game, and except for the final team. Now, and one thing I've heard the coaches speak, but just like what Spencer asked, they do want a rim protector. They know it's a need. So that's one of the things they're after. In the off season. One thing about this team too, it's probably the best staff we've had, maybe since some of the ones Wimp had in the kind of the early '80s.
No question.
And there or C.M. Newton had when you had Wimp and John Bostic on the staff. But like I said, this is the first staff. You got 4 guys that seem to all work together and all actively recruiting out and all know what they're doing. So for recruiting and just kind of team building, this is the group to get us there.
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead. I was just going to say, you heard me earlier. I love the way Oates communicates. I love the way he communicates with kids, with high school coaches, AAU coaches, parents. He gets them to buy in. And, I don't anticipate anyone leaving early for the NBA out of this group, even JQ. I think they understand they need some more time. And Alabama could go, and theoretically, with improvement from Keon Ambrose Hilton, and then with additions of 1 injured guy, we already talked about Chiku, and then 2 signees, you could go from no rim protection to 4. And let me understand this. I know that Juwan Gary can protect the rim, but he's really a 3-4. He doesn't need to be playing the 5. If he can get more on some 3-4 guys and use his athleticism, he's going to be lethal with the way how hard he plays.
I see Gary kind of getting Herb's minutes. Probably not as good defensively, but if he, like you said, basically after January, Herb didn't hit a 3.
Right, he couldn't hit his outside shot. Yeah,
if Gary can, basically shoot 30% from 3, offensively, he may be about as good as Herb, and not that much of a drop off. He's just got to develop the shot. But his free throws until last night. If you shoot a free throw, you can shoot a 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Gary until last night had been probably our most accurate free throw shooter the last 2 weeks or so.
Right.
One thing, Scott, we talked about last week about the Big Ten, and you listened to the Torres podcast. Alabama had as many players drafted in the first round last year as all of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
They were talking about it being a talent level. And then the Pac-12 had 4 or 5 drafted, and they said they're kind of undervaluing the basically talent for being, I guess, just watching them on TV, and they're good teams, but it's just when you get to the tournament, you have a talent level difference.
Yeah, totally.
Now, you just you look at the NBA draft, and I think, like I said, the Big Ten had 1 guy drafted the same as Bama.
Yep.
Out of all the teams. So.
Yeah, you're spot on.
Yeah, totally. And I'm going to watch the rest of the tournament. I have to admit, I couldn't really watch USC last night, Oregon, because I was just so disappointed. You wanted the run to continue. But I'll say this: I did watch enough of it to understand USC's got some length and athleticism and skill. That's going to be interesting against Gonzaga. I think,
and they know how to hire assistant coaches.
Right. Well, yeah. Hey, that was a good investment hiring the Mobley's dad.
that always helps. And one of them even stayed 2 years. It didn't work too well for Kwanzaa with Porter, but it's kind of worked for this time. So you need to get a guy with 2 or 3 sons. So that works better. They don't get hurt. Yeah. See you guys later.
All right, thanks, Richard. All right, here's a question for you. And I was thinking about this while we were in that break. At the very, very beginning of basketball season, before any games were played, I should say, if we would have said Okay, Alabama fans, here's how this season is going to end. Alabama will make a trip to the Sweet 16. What would have been Alabama's fans' reaction, do you think, at the very beginning of the season? Before a game was played, if we would have said, Alabama, this team is going to make it to the Sweet 16, you probably would have said, I don't know, man. I don't see it. I mean, I think they can be talented, but I don't know about a Sweet 16 run, right? I mean, are we right to think that?
I would have been ecstatic if someone had told me before the season in year 2.
Before a single game was played.
Everybody understands, they kind of have their memories of, I don't know, the pandemic. I don't know what it did. They've forgotten last year where all those injuries happened. You're 16 and 15, and you're basically having to win the SEC tournament just to get in the postseason, period. And I'm talking about the NIT, or if you win the SEC tournament, you're in the NCAAs. But, I mean, you might have got in the NIT if you got to the finals of the SEC tournament, which wasn't going to happen. I mean, it was a frustrating first year, but you could see kind of what his vision was. But if you had told me in year 2, you're going to make that huge a jump, you're going to win the Southeastern Conference. You are going in the regular season. Right. You are going to win the tournament, which hasn't happened since 86, 87. And you're going to go to the Sweet 16. My Lord, everybody would have taken it in a heartbeat. I mean, it's just the cruelty of the game, man. Unless you cut the nets down, it's going to be disappointing. Even if Alabama had made the Final Four, how gut-wrenching would it be? Think about Auburn. They get to the Final Four for the first time ever, and then a missed double dribble, and then a foul on a three-pointer, and then, unlike Alabama, Virginia makes their free throws, bam, and they go on and win the national championship. How gut-wrenching. It's still, you're never going to forget that team. They're going to be the greatest in Auburn history. They made the Final Four. It was awesome for this state. Awesome. But it's still gut-wrenching to think how close you were. Right. But it's so tough to see it end like that because you just want to keep going. And that Auburn team was special. I mean, Jared Harper, Bryce Brown, Chumo Kiki before he got hurt. If he doesn't get hurt, they might have really actually won the national championship. What a great player he was. And so this Alabama team was a special one too. And it just came to an end abruptly. And you can taste the Elite Eight, but just can't get over the hump. But again, great kids and Nate Oates and his staff, if they keep recruiting at the level they are, and I think they're going to, it's going to be a very good program going forward. And what you need to do is support Nate Oates. He's already got one raise. He'll probably get another and build that new arena and become, a top 15 program in college basketball.
All right, 7:40. We need to step aside here real fast. Phone lines are open to you. 1-888-644-3776. We will talk more college basketball news. How are the conferences doing now record-wise going into the Elite Eight? And we'll have a Final Four team by the end of the night.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Still looking good accident-wise this morning. We don't have any problems reported there. Watch out for uneven roadway surface as you come into South Huntsville from about the Tennessee River Bridge up to about Hobbs Road. They've got a resurfacing project that got started overnight. That one will be running all week during the overnight hours. Routine care to heart failure. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialists have the expertise to care for all matters of the heart. Doctor visits are important. Please don't put them off. Captain Nick in the North Parkway, Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
The PGA Tour's Corn Ferry Tour is coming to the Rocket City. Join us at the Ledges for the inaugural Huntsville Championship, April 29th through May 2nd. Experience the beauty and drama of the course firsthand. Witness golf's rising stars chase their PGA Tour dreams. Cheer on the future of golf up close and personal. Tickets are on sale now at HuntsvilleChampionship.com.
Hey there, Bob Baumhauer here. I hope all of you are well. These are trying times we're experiencing right now, and I want you to know that we at Baumhauer's are committed more than ever to providing a legendary dining experience to everyone. Everyone is important to us, and everyone is welcome. Please allow us to serve you in a way that makes you feel safe, appreciated, welcome, and special. Because we're all special in the eyes of the ones and the one that counts. God bless.
Tom Luganbill here for Woody Anderson Ford. When I was in the Tennessee Valley, one of the things that impressed me the most was the quality of the people. People like Bobby White and his team at Woody Anderson Ford. And now you can experience the tremendous new service lanes and showroom at Woody Anderson Ford, at Jordan and Sparkman, or just stop by for breakfast or lunch at Henry's Mustang Cafe. And in Madison, visit Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, just south of 72. Like a great college football tradition, always there, Woody Anderson Ford.
This week, our Zone Deal features Old Dad's Barbecue, a small family business that's been serving up mouth-watering barbecue for 26 years right down from Hazel Green High School. Try one of Old Dad's 3 family specials: stuffed pork potatoes, pork nachos, pork loaded fries, pork plates, and a side of jalapeno hush puppies. And wash it all down with some of Old Dad's famous sweet tea by the glass or the gallon. Get $50 worth of delicious Old Dad's Barbecue for just $25 with our Zone Deal. On sale now at 977ESPN.com.
This segment of Talkin Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama, located online at universitykia.com. He's bald, he's opinionated, and he's here.
You're morally reprehensible, vulgar, insensitive, selfish, stupid. You have no taste, a lousy sense of humor, and you smell.
Listen to Feinbaum, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Already got 14 minutes. Mike's on.
Oh, the heat is on. The heat is on. By the way, though, I did watch Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2. Speaking of the heat is on.
That's 2 classic movies.
It is. And the heat is on Indiana right now, if you really wanted to talk about it.
That was great. Thank you, man.
Because over the weekend, Indiana announcing that they have hired Mike Woodson as their new head coach and have named Thad Matta the director of basketball. I don't know what you want to call him, the director of basketball.
The associate director,
yes.
athletic director for basketball,
yes.
basically.
So Mike Woodson, who has 0 head coaching experience on the college level, plenty of NBA experience, but yet to has coached a college game, has yet to be on the college level, basically now is going from the Ritz-Carlton to the Courtyard Marriott, if you really wanted to think about it. But he is in charge of the Indiana basketball program.
Well, it's just
former Hoosier, by the way, who played with Bob Knight.
Yes, late 70s, early 80s. And he was a great player. Scored 2,000 points. The Indiana fans love him. They love alums. They're still caught in that warp because now they're thinking because Archie Miller didn't work, because Kelvin Sampson imploded. That's really where he got off the tracks. I mean, I know Tom Crean went to 2 Sweet 16, but you look at Kelvin Sampson, and I know he got in trouble with the NCAA, but you also have to look at the way he coaches, okay? He's trying to get Houston to the Final Four for the first time since the mid-'80s. He got Oklahoma to the Final Four. He went to the NCAA tournament consistently at Washington State, and Scott, you know what a graveyard job Washington State is.
Right.
Okay? And then he was on the track to do really well at Indiana. And so everywhere he's gone, he's won big in the college game. And so I just think that's where it kind of got off the tracks, where he got in trouble with the NCAA at Indiana. I think he could have won big there. It didn't work. And now they're back to wanting one of their guys. And Thad Matta at one time was a great coach. He was at Butler. He did a heck of a job. He went to Xavier. He did a heck of a job. And then he got Ohio State to the national championship
early.
game.
His last few years
were not good. Right.
He'd kind of gone off the rails a little bit there.
And I think his health may have been a part of that. But Mike Woodson, here's my thing. And see, what they're saying right now is they're questioning his ability to recruit. It's the exact same scenario that they were talking about when Avery Johnson was hired at Alabama. But I'll make a prediction on this. Because Mike Woodson has been in the NBA for 20-plus years, and that's where kids ultimately want to go. Okay, I don't like the NBA, but that's where they want to go. They want to pay. They want to get paid to play. They want to do what Kyra Lewis is doing, and they want to take care of their family for the rest of their lives. They want to be financially secure. Okay, so they can see that. They can see that vision because he's been there. He's been the coach of the Hawks. He's been the coach of the Knicks. He's even won in the NBA at times because he's had good enough rosters.
Coach LeBron, I believe in it.
Here's the problem for me. I think he'll recruit. I think he'll hire a good enough staff to get players. Avery Johnson did. But the thing I worried about when Avery came was the recruiting. I thought he'd be able to coach. Here's what you figure out. Most of these guys in the NBA, only about 5 or 6 of them can coach. All the rest of it is just ego management. You know what I'm saying? And basically babysitting. And so which one is Mike Woodson? If he can actually coach, then maybe this works.
Do you think they're trying to catch lightning in a bottle like Michigan has done with Juwan Howard?
Yeah, but see, there's a big difference. And Aaron Torres talked about this. He was on the show last week. Juwan's 46 years old. Juwan is just, I mean, this is a dude that was in the Fab Five. This is a dude that parents now that were growing up then that are now in their 40s, they remember him. I mean, I've always loved Juwan. He grinded to get his opportunity. He's put together a really good staff there at Michigan. But see, then you look at it on the other side. I know they won the conference tournament and they got in, but they lost by 30 points. So far, Patrick Ewing has been a struggle at Georgetown. And he has done as much as any player ever. He's one of the greatest college players ever. An NBA Hall of Famer, and yet he's been struggling in his alma mater to get them relevant.
Right.
So I don't know. I think it's 50-50 at best that this works. In other words, I could see it not happening, and in 3 years they start all over. To me, I don't know why. He's sitting out here. Nobody's hired him yet. I don't care that he's 68 years old. Why are they not hiring John Beilein?
It's only a few years difference between and Mike Woodson.
He can coach the game, develop players, get people to buy in. To me, it's the perfect spot. And I'm sorry, I think Chris Beard is probably going to go to Texas, okay? He's an alum of Texas. They want him. I think it's his dream job. I think they'll work it out.
And if Texas wants somebody, we already know that they're going to pay.
But here's the deal. You got Oklahoma open, and you got Texas Tech that'll open up. One of you better hire John Beilein if you want to win. Do you understand? If you're Texas Tech and you just lost the best coach in your history, and that's Chris Beard, you're not going to lose anything if you go and get John Beilein. Do you understand? He can coach the game. Ask Lenny Acuff about that. The guy is special. He nearly won 2 national titles at Michigan. When he went there, it was a graveyard. It was terrible. They were awful. He went to the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 with West Virginia, I believe. He got Richmond consistently to the NCAA tournament. He wants his son to coach with him. Great. Just go ahead and roll. But I'm just saying, somebody better hire John Beilein because I think he still wants to coach. I don't care if he's 68. Nick Saban's 69. Do you think anybody in college football would hire Nick Saban right now? They want him to leave Alabama worse than anything because they're getting their ass beat.
I don't know. I don't know which program would take a stab at Saban. He hasn't done much.
Come on. It doesn't matter. Age is just a number, bro. And so I'm just saying, I don't understand the Mike Woodson hire from that standpoint. And I know that the fans love him in Indiana, and they're going to get behind him. There's no doubt about it. But I have questions. It may work. It may look like a genius move in 2 years. But he better put together a great staff. And I just wonder if he can get Dane Fife, former Indiana Hoosier, away from Tom Izzo.
Well, let's just look at this. Indiana basketball hasn't been relevant since the late 80s. I mean, really, Mike Davis got them to the Final Four. You know, they got them there. But you look at Indiana basketball, they're supposed to be a blue blood, but they haven't accomplished anything in forever. I mean, it's not like they were good in the 2000s and making runs to the title game. Even in the late 90s, they still were not doing that. They have not done anything since the late 80s. I'm just saying, they haven't been relevant.
Well, I mean, they went to a couple of Sweet 16s and were number 1 in the country under Tom Crean. They couldn't keep it going, though. And you know what kind of place Indiana is. They expect to win. They expect to win big. They haven't won a title since '87. They hadn't made the Final Four since the Calbert Chaney days in the early '90s. But they still need to be good. It's good for college basketball. I mean, come on. I hope that this works. I really do, but I have doubts about it. A lot of times the NBA guys don't translate to college, and college doesn't translate to the NBA. It's just too different a game, Scott. And so that's where Brad Stevens is kind of a unicorn. He's been one of these guys that's been able to, have success in both places. But again, it doesn't happen often. John Calipari couldn't do it. Lon Kruger couldn't do it. Rick Pitino couldn't do it long term. Some of these guys are just college coaches, man. I mean,
2002, their last Final Four.
Yeah, and that was Jared Jeffries and Mike Davis when finally Coach Knight was shown the door. I mean, and Coach Davis took over the program. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where, it's just really difficult. And, I mean, I hope this works out for Indiana. I have severe questions about it. I do think if you're Texas and you can hire Chris Beard, that would be a home run because he's already gotten Texas Tech to a national championship game. It will be even easier for him to recruit to Texas with all their resources. And like you just said, they'll pay. They've got more money than anyone. And so they'll pay very well, for you to just like their ladies. We just watched them beat Maryland. Vic Schaefer, they hired him away from Mississippi State. He got them to 2 national championship games. So, but again, it's going to be really interesting to see because Indiana, as you said, has kind of been wandering through the wilderness for a while. They haven't been consistent.
They haven't made the NCAA tournament since 2016.
Yeah, and that was near the end of the Tom Crean administration.
Yeah, so I mean, and they have not won a conference regular season champion since 2016.
And I was surprised that Archie Miller didn't work. Because I liked his teams at Dayton.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he could win at Indiana in the Big Ten. It didn't work. I do think we'll see Archie again. I do think he'll work his way back up. I think he'll get a head coaching job. You look at Bryce Drew, who did not work out at Vanderbilt, had a good run at Valparaiso, and now he gets Grand Canyon to the NCAA tournament his first year. I do think Archie Miller will be back, no question about it. It's going to be interesting to see where he lands. But again, that's college basketball for you. I just think at Indiana, you need a college coach. You need a system coach. You need Bob Knight. And what I mean by Bob Knight was motion, man defense, and he wasn't. You never thought Bob Knight was going to the NBA, okay? And I think that Indiana needs a college coach, a ball coach to fit in there. And I just think we wouldn't have cost him a buyout. I understand he's 68. But if you get 8 or 9 years out of John Beilein and can stabilize your program and even say his son takes over after that, how is that bad for Indiana? And I hope Mike Woodson works out, but I have doubts about it.
All right, tonight we will get our first 2 teams into the Final Four. Half of the field will be set after tonight. 6:15, you get 2-seed Houston taking on 12th seed Oregon State. And then at 8:57, top seed Baylor takes on 3rd seed Arkansas. So the lone SEC team left in the field, the Razorbacks and Eric Musselman have a shot to knock off top seed Baylor and get to the Final Four. Baylor a 7-point favorite coming into this one tonight.
Well, I like Baylor. I just think they're too experienced. Arkansas has been living on the edge. They've made a great run under Eric Musselman. But I just think it's coming to an end. They were very fortunate to survive ORI. Who did that look like a 15 to anybody? Did that look like a 15 to anybody? Stop talking about a seed. Are you kidding me? But anyway, I just think Arkansas, they're athletic. Justin Smith's a great player. They need Moses Moody to start playing better. He hasn't been shooting the ball well. They're going to get a huge effort out of him. But I just think they're too experienced on the perimeter. They got enough inside. I'm talking about Baylor. I just think Baylor, this is their year. They haven't been to the Final Four since 1950, Scott.
Yeah.
And I just think this is what they've been working for all year. They got through the COVID pause. They've got their guys back. They're back in rhythm. And I just think they're going to be too much. I like Baylor by 10 to 12 points in this game. I think they're going to march on. And then I'm calling for it. Bill Walton would be proud of me. Conference of Champions gets one in the Final Four tonight. I like Hinkle or is it Tinkle? What the heck is his name?
Timmy?
I'm talking about I'm talking about the head coach of the Oregon State Beavers.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry that I butchered his name there, but I just love the way they're playing. I think that Houston is not a high-scoring team. They're kind of a slug it out. They want to get on the offensive glass kind of group. But
Wayne Tinkle.
Yes, I will apologize to Coach Tinkle. I think just watching their team play, that they're on one of these special runs that a team gets on, because we brought it up before the show. They had to win their conference tournament just to get in. But they're not an ordinary 12. Tennessee learned that, even though their fans want to fire Rick Barnes over it, but that wouldn't be very smart considering that the Beavers may go to the Final Four. I think they can beat Houston. I really do. I think in this matchup, they've seen teams as good as Houston in their league. Their league obviously has been the best one. They've gotten 3 through to the Elite 8. And I think the Oregon State Beavers are going to cut the nets down tonight and upset Houston and be a 12 seed to reach the Final Four.
All right, guys. We are just about ready to hit the halftime mark. There we go. We're going back in, going to get a little bit of rest, get a little bit of hydration, because we will come out in hour number 2 as we bring in our first guest of the morning to kick off our second half.
Yes, we will. Travis Reier, BamaOnline.com. We'll talk a little Alabama athletics with us next.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You know, you'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life. More important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4-RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
And a wreck northbound on 231 just north of Patterson Lane. That one ended up as an injury type. Be ready for uneven roadway surface, South Parkway between Hobbs Road and the Tennessee River Bridge. It's going to be a week-long resurfacing project they're working overnight. The Somnodent from Dr. Sandman is an easy-to-use oral device, insurance approved for sleep apnea and for snoring. Doctor visits are important. Please don't put them off. 350-CARE or RandallSandlin.com. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the WZDX Ben Plainte Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A beautiful Monday afternoon across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. Plenty of sunshine, not a drop of rain in the forecast. Temperatures hanging out in the low and mid 60s. Some of us could creep into the upper 60s, which is actually right about where we should be this time of year. We're going to drop into the low and mid 40s as we head into the overnight. Cloud cover will gradually build into the Tennessee Valley through the later part of Tuesday afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brett Musburger's Action Update. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all of your car care needs. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day. Now, here are the latest lines from my guys in the desert.
A week from Thursday, the start of the Masters tournament, Dustin Johnson, the favorite at plus 800, Bryson DeChambeau at plus 1100, Justin Thomas plus 1350. The Elite Eight getting started tonight with the first 2 games. Oregon State an 8.5-point underdog against Houston, the over-under 129. Baylor minus 6 against Arkansas, the over-under 148.5. Tomorrow, USC plus 9.5 against Gonzaga, 155 total. And Michigan minus 7.5 against UCLA, 136.5, the over-under. Women's basketball, the Elite Eight tipping off tonight. Baylor a 4.5-point underdog against UConn, the over-under 138.5. Indiana minus 3 against Arizona, 123.5 total. I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com.
As always, welcome back to Talkin Ball, hour number 2. And of course, this segment brought to you by our very, very good friends over at Terrell Technical Services Incorporated in Madison. Don't forget, they offer a full line of environmental health and safety services, including industrial hygiene, asbestos, mold, and bacterial services, Legionella testing and water management plans, lead-based paint inspection assessments and abatement plans, environmental site assessments, LEED certified air testing, and more. Their staff holds all US EPA accreditations and nationally recognized certifications and credentials to necessitate your project to completion. Give Terrell Technical Services a call today at 256-461-9278 to discuss your environmental health or safety needs. Again, 256-461-9278 to our very, very good friends over at Terrell Technical Services Incorporated. We've talked a lot about the NCAA basketball tournament. We've talked a lot about Alabama and their run. And we've kind of questioned a lot of those that are saying, hey, Alabama's loss in the Sweet 16 was a disappointment. The season ended yes, the season ended disappointingly because you want to win that game. But to say the season was a disappointment, you have to check yourself there, because this team, as we mentioned, Drew, to say, hey, to get to the Sweet 16 at this point, a lot of people would have taken that before the first ball it was even tipped at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I mean, the deeper you get in the tournament, the tougher it is when it comes to an end. And this was a special group of seniors, special group of kids, and who better than to give us his thoughts on it? A guy I respect so much. For over a decade, has been the senior analyst for BamaOnline.com. He's so well versed in Alabama athletics and really sports in general. He does a great job with Southern Fried Sports from 11 to noon on Tide 100.9, and that is our weekly visit with our great friend Travis Reier. Travis, good morning. You're with Drew and Scott. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Well, we're okay. It's difficult when you see a great run in like for this Alabama basketball team. But when you put it in perspective and understand, where Nate Oates was going into year 2, I certainly didn't see this, Travis. I didn't see them being this good this quickly. I thought they could make a run to get to the tournament. But overall, I mean, disappointing loss, yes, missed opportunity, but a great, great year nonetheless.
Yeah, just when you consider where they were in late December.
Yeah, great point.
How far they came in the new year. So, no, I think by all accounts, a great year. It certainly qualifies as that. You can't discount winning a regular season SEC title along with the tournament title in the same season. Disappointing in that the draw worked out well for Alabama, especially as it unfolded. But, seeding a lot of times goes out the window, and it's about how you're playing at the right time of year, and give UCLA credit. They're playing their best right now after a 4-game losing streak to sort of end their regular season. So they've bounced back and playing at a pretty high level. But there's no doubt Alabama, a lot of what happened last night was self-inflicted. They did exactly what they wanted to do. They got to the free throw line 25 times, and some of those were 1-and-1, front-end misses on 1-and-1. So if they make their front ends, they're shooting somewhere around 30 probably last night. But just a forgettable night from the free throw line, and they got out 3'd as well. And when those two things happen, it's tough to win, as you said. As you get deeper in the tournament, things like that become tougher to overcome.
Travis, was there something you saw from the free throws that last night that maybe Alabama looked, like they were rushing it at all, or was it just one of those nights where they just weren't going in?
They just weren't going in. And look, when you get deeper into this thing and the pressure ramps up, it's not all that uncommon. It's tough. It has to be tough. I've obviously never been in that situation, but I can only imagine trying to manage the adrenaline and the sort of the anxiety and all the things that go into that. You saw more than a couple of free throws last night that were long, and that kind of points to, I would think, the adrenaline. You're trying to manage that, and both of Herb's misses late were long, so you don't want to get too much into the technicality of it or fundamentals of it or those type of things. It's just the moment a lot of times is so big. And, those aren't the first guys to miss free throws in that spot. As we'll see as this tournament continues to unfold, they won't be the last.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the cruelty of the tournament in some ways. But certainly the senior class left a legacy. They completely turned this program around. I was just talking to Scott off the air before we had you on, and it's really amazing how quick the pendulum has swung for Alabama basketball in just 2 years.
No, and these guys, these three seniors especially, their presence and their contributions will resonate for years to come. And obviously not a way you want to see them go out, although give Alex Reese a ton of credit knocking down that three at the end of regulation to give this team 5 more minutes to try to save its season. So it was pretty cool to see him do that in his last game at Alabama. I thought Petty in the second half picked it up. Unfortunately for Herb, it was just one of those nights. And again, a lot of times with Herb, it can go back to foul trouble. And, he picks up the 2 offensive fouls in the first couple of minutes of the game. And, when that happens, it's hard to find it once you're back in. You kind of get out of the flow, and it can be difficult. And it just seemed like, as a team, they were trying too hard at times. Like they were forcing the issue. And again, though, you give UCLA a lot of credit. I mean, they and their staff did a great job of their scout and kind of coming up with a plan for Alabama. And early, they certainly anticipated Herb to be extra assertive on the offensive end, and Campbell, as he should, is a 5'11" point guard going against a guy who's 6'6". You give him credit for having the courage to kind of stand in there a couple times and draw a couple offensive fouls.
Yeah, I think that was the Herb Jones effect early on. I think he was trying too hard and picked up those 2 offensive charges coming out of the gate. I mean, we've seen Herb get into foul trouble early in games this year, but he really came out, and I think he just had a little too much excitement early on, and that cost him really his almost most of the first half.
It did. And, again, offensively, it just wasn't a night where he ever really found it. And, but they had some guys that continued to step up. And so that's where your optimism really ramps up for next year and beyond, is because once again, the bench, with Quinterly doing what he typically does, scores 20, 40 off the bench, plays 35 minutes, in large part because you did have issues with both Herb and Keon Ellis as far as foul trouble is concerned. Jawan Gary off the bench, once again, a major bright spot. Primo had flashes where he did some nice things. So, again, when you consider it wasn't a great night at all for Shackelford, but what he's capable of, you've got some core pieces that you're bringing back. And then you had a guy like Alex Chaku that didn't even play this year because of an Achilles situation. J.D. Davison coming in, a couple of guys here in the late mix that could end up in this program, 1 or 2, Bediako, Burnett. So, they are in great shape. Again, you hate it for the seniors to go out like that last night, but future's bright for Alabama men's hoops.
It really is, because, Travis, this roster still wasn't perfect. It was deep at Alabama, but once Bruner got hurt, he was starting to get comfortable in the Auburn game and on the Plains and played very well. But then once he got injured against Kentucky, he was kind of never the same. Turned out he had 2 knee surgeries. He wasn't supremely athletic to begin with, but it took away some of his athleticism. But if you're Alabama this year, you had Gary, who was really having to play out of position at the 5, uber athlete, can protect the rim a little bit, but you really didn't have anybody besides him. And I think with Nate Oates' vision for this program going forward, they want to have a guy eventually, and they're trying to recruit one in Bediako, is you can throw it 2 inside to play 4 out and 1 in, and he can score and also protect the rim. But you brought up Chiku as well. Then there's Langston Wilson. Alabama could go from having, really not a lot of rim protection to having 3 or 4 guys that could do that next year.
Yeah, it's going to be an entirely different team, I think, when you talk about post presence, and not only that, but athleticism, in the post. And so Bruner, I think as much as anything, yes, he did give you that veteran presence. So as far as culture, I think that's where Jordan Bruner probably helped you complete the buy-in with some of the younger players that you had, or some guys that had actually been around that it maybe was a little bit slower in coming. So Bruner intangibly, and then also from time to time, like last night, I mean, he did make a 3 in the game, one of only 7 for Alabama. So he had that versatility when he was healthy. But you're right, when the knees, those issues cropped up, it was a real problem. And then Reese last night looked like he caught a foot or something, and he did hit the big 3 late, but a lot of it was on Juwan Gary, because that's basically what they were down to.
Well, now you start looking at the season in perspective and everything, and I mean, you have to etch more than a page. It's got to be almost like a chapter of these seniors that left this lasting image, of this lasting memory of this Crimson Tide basketball team that forever, whatever Nate Oates accomplishes from here on out, it'll start with these seniors.
It will, and I think now what's beneficial to Nate is, he has documented success that the players can't really debate or argue with, in terms of when he says he wants things done a certain way, or this is how the program is going to operate. He's had success with it. So not that he probably needed to validate himself in the eyes of that many folks, but I think this sort of season makes things easier for him in comparison to, say, where things were in even mid-December of this season. So, from that perspective, the culture, you would think, is cemented, and, the expectations are going to be baseline pretty much what we saw this year, because you certainly expect the talent and the personnel to continue to elevate as far as the roster is concerned, because as we've seen with Nate, Brian Hodgson, Pett, and that staff, they don't sit still. I mean, they're just look at this late period and the possibilities that are out there that they could still add. They're always looking to upgrade that roster.
Yes, they are, and the future's bright, no doubt about it. I real quickly, because you know as much about women's basketball as anyone we speak with, we talked about how it was a great step forward for Christy Curry to get to the tournament. But then you look and you see that Maryland team that was just an amazing squad. They turn around, though. Vic Schaefer, who has been hired from Mississippi State to Texas, take them out yesterday. It's still is as great as it was to get back to the tournament, win a game. It shows you still how far they need to come. How does she continue to get this program back to the NCAA tournament consistently? I know she's had some issues recruiting in state. We talked about that last week. But now it's almost different, though, with all these young ladies in the transfer portal. You can almost build your roster in different ways. How, in your mind, does she stay relevant?
Yeah, now the question is, can they sustain it? And, they sort of cultivated and nurtured this big 3 of Copeland and Walker and Lewis, for several years. And it culminated with a trip to the NCAA tournament and a win in the first round. So really good season for the ladies, but there's no doubt that the question still remains, can they do this on a consistent basis? And so that's what we'll find out. In-state recruiting, you're right. Jasmine Walker originally was a kid that left the state, went to Florida State before coming back to Alabama. But, I think it's up in the air. I don't looking at this roster, and I know that Christy and that staff, they go hard on transfers and, dabble in some JUCO from time to time. I do like that they're bringing in a legitimate high school player in Kayla Blackshear from the Orlando area, same high school that produced Jordan Lewis. So I think that's a nice piece that you can look ahead with. But, Megan Abrams coming back, Hannah Barber coming back. I think they had some injuries, maybe even an opt-out or two this season. So we'll see how the roster takes shape. But it was a nice sort of, again, culmination of some careers that have been really good at Alabama. But as far as projecting this team, even to next year's tournament, I think you're a little hesitant about that until you know exactly what the roster is going to look like.
Mm-hmm. Right. As we move on from basketball, spring football update, but pro day update as well. Alabama has a second pro day coming up where more guys are going to get a chance to shine. And it looks like Mac Jones will probably throw yet again at a second pro day.
Yes, he will. Mac has been very available, I guess you could say. And so that's the expectation. There's still some intrigue in terms of how much will we see from Najee Harris. You would think this would be the one for some of these guys that we didn't see really last week, depending on where Jalen Waddle's at, with that ankle and some other guys that have been dealing with some issues. But, Mac is definitely a guy that isn't hiding from anyone, that's for sure. So we'll see. I guess that's tomorrow, and I'm sure it'll be heavily represented by different clubs. And I guess you still have the private workouts going on too beyond this, so there's that to take into account as well.
Yeah, and Travis, what are some of your takes as we wrap it up with the last couple of minutes? I know it's just early. That's still only about 4 practices in, really. But what are some of your early takes on Alabama spring football 2021?
Yeah, it's been about what you would expect, I think, at this point, especially after you got the update from Nick early in spring about availability of players. So, wide receiver, there's certainly a lot going on there, kind of a mix in the first group or two with some veterans like Slade Bolden, Xavier Williams, but then some younger guys like Javon Baker, Trayshawn Holden. And you get into some of the early enrollees at wide receiver that have a real chance, like Ja'Cory Brooks, Ajay Hall, Christian Leary. So with Mechie, limited at best, it sounds like this spring that's going to be interesting to watch continue to play out in the offensive line, sticking with that side of the ball with Emil Ekiyor limited at best to out. And you're looking to already replace Deontay Brown at the other guard and Landon Dickerson moving on at center. So, some young guys, second-year guys. It's interesting because, to me anyway, the 2020 offensive line class really overshadowed by the class before it and the class after it, right? 2019, 2021, just some amazing offensive line classes. But guys like Damian George and Javion Cohen, they're getting opportunities this spring because they're legitimate candidates. And, I think also what helps is when you've done what they've done in strength and conditioning with David Ballou and Dr. Matt Ray, you can kind of speed up the process physically at a position that when you talk about developmental areas of a football team, the offensive line is always usually at the top of the list.
Really is. Well, great stuff from Travis Reier. Travis, let everybody know how to connect with you. We know you're going to have a lot of lively conversation on Southern Fried Sports later today and also BamaOnline.com.
Thanks, guys. Just go to BamaOnline.com. You can catch us there at BOL, and you can catch me as the host of Southern Fried Sports weekday mornings from 11 a.m. until noon at Tide109.com.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Travis.
Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
Travis Reier giving us some great insight there to that tough loss for Alabama. All right, before we get to that break real fast, let's get to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Jeff from the Borough with us on a Monday. Good morning, Jeff.
Well, guys, what's been going on?
What's up, man?
Well, a friend of mine told me that it's going to happen one night for Bama. The threes aren't going to fall. And, darling, when you live by the three, darling, you die by the three. And that's what happened to Bama, 7-28. And you couldn't make a free throw. Middle school teams can shoot better free throws than what Bama shot. 44%, the worst since 2003.
Yeah, it wasn't good, Jeff.
Want to hear from you. That's right.
Yeah, we figured we'd hear from you.
That's right, baby. You got that right because you blew it again. I bet team went to the regional final, not this one.
Well, it is what it is, Jeff. Alabama had a hell of a year. Kentucky was on their ass at home watching because they suck.
We got 8 championships. We got our band.
You have 8 championships, but you hadn't won one in a while. And right now, Alabama's basketball program is better than Kentucky's. They'll be better than Kentucky next year. You can book what I just said. Alabama's roster is going to be better than your boy Calipari. His time's probably passed. I think Nate Oates in the next 5 years is going to pass him up, brother. I hope you like getting your ass beat, because you did twice this year, and you're going to take it some more. And then you're basically practice fodder in football. So you improved to the point where you can get to a bowl game, but yet you're still a scrimmage for Alabama. So understand that.
That's true.
You better enjoy your baseball sweep of Auburn, because it's basically the only thing you're worth a tinker's dang in right now in volleyball. So how about you enjoy that, clown?
The two greatest traditions are Alabama football and Kentucky men's basketball. Ain't no doubt about that.
Ain't no tradition right now. All I see is 9 and 15.
You've got a long way.
I'm got your teeth knocked out to this year. You have nothing to talk about. Kentucky basketball will be back. We all understand it. But all you know, what you got to talk about right now is today. And today, S-U-C-K, my friend. S-U-C-K.
First losing season in 30 years. We got to give you a trophy sometime. Took y'all 30 years when a dang
I'll tell you right now,
you know about NCAA tournament heartbreak. It's the way the tournament is. Sometimes the best team doesn't win, or sometimes you get your heart broken. Like Christian Laettner, one of my all-time favorites. I hope you can still stick that where the sun don't shine.
Yeah, but he stopped on Timberlake to do it. So, I mean,
that's great.
Well,
he got away with it, too.
Thing, though, Jeff. I mean, you want to talk about something. I mean, we were asking this question during the break. I mean, in 5 years, from 5 years from right now until 5 years from now, which coach is going to have better results, John Calipari or Nate Oates?
I take Nate Oates right now over Cal. I can tell you that right now, pal, because he knows how to build a program.
There's a lot of water coming in that boat right now in Kentucky.
I'd be a little worried since I went 9 and 15 with another roster that was supposed to be you were ranked in the top 10 to start the country. To start the season.
Calipari probably will be retired. I'll grant you that he's in his 60s, so ain't no doubt about that. There's no question. There's no question about that. He will probably be retired. So he's in his 60s, but let me tell you something. His leg is secure, big boy. He's a Hall of Famer.
He may be a Hall of Famer.
He's a Hall of Famer. That's fine. But who's the better program right now, Jeff? It's kind of like when Alabama was they've always had tradition in football, but it's like when they made bad hires and you had Mike DeBose, you had Mike Price, now he didn't even coach a game, you had Mike Shula, and you weren't winning. You weren't relevant. But right now, Alabama football under Nick Saban is on the greatest run in the history of the sport.
No doubt.
I mean, and right now, Kentucky, they've had a great run under Calipari, but this year they stunk.
All them seniors like Herbert Jones, they're done, all right. They're 4 and done.
They're 4 and done. That's right. But Alabama's got some talent coming in next year. We'll play Kentucky in the parking lot. We don't give a crap as far as if you're Alabama.
Come on, let's go. We ready, baby. Come on.
But what, Jeff? What does Kentucky have to build on this year? What do you have that says you're going to turn around this 9-win season and get to a Elite 8 or a Final 4 where Kentucky expects them to be?
Oh, Kentucky won't be 9 and 15 next year, but I'm going to tell you what, Alabama's not going anywhere.
But what
we look forward to playing Kentucky.
But what do the pieces that Kentucky have coming back? What are the pieces that Kentucky have coming back that says that Kentucky's going to get back to where they expect to be?
They got Jacob Toppin coming back for his junior year. He's coming back.
Okay.
Good.
But what else? What else lends you to say that Kentucky's going to be a Final Four team where they expect to be next year?
They expect to win it every year.
Right.
They've got 4 guys right now coming back. And I don't know what else they're going to get, but they'll have some players. I can assure you that.
I expect that.
No, yeah, we expect that. We're not denying that they're not going to have players.
Don't nobody want no John Beeline at 85 years old. Don't nobody want him coaching. Are you kidding me?
Man, why not? He's just as young as Calipari, right? Well, what's Calipari's age right now?
60s. He's in his 60s.
And John Beeline 68, and he would coach circles around Calipari right now.
Yeah, well, he's taking 3 different schools to the Final Four, and Pitino is taking 5 different ones.
It's been a while since Kentucky's been in the Final Four. There,
he may have taken them to the Final Four, but the NCAA doesn't. But the NCAA doesn't recognize them all.
No, and he'll probably have to vacate some of the stuff when he leaves Kentucky, just like he had to vacate stuff when he left Memphis and UMass.
Yep.
Alabama still has 0 appearances there. So when y'all
We'll see.
when y'all get to 11 championship games, you let me know, Doctor. Until then, keep your fat mouth shut.
Well, hey, Jeff, let me know when Kentucky ever gets to the SEC championship game in football, bud. Let me know when they can stay with Alabama, when they can beat their third team, all right? It's never going to happen, pal. So you better hope you can just get to a bowl game every year and continue to be practice fodder for the Tide. So get off the phone, clown.
Who gives a damn?
All right, let's get to our break.
Hang up on this clown.
It's 8:30. Let's get to our break. Got to bring in our next guest.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
That wreck on 231 near Patterson Lane's been our only working accident this morning. That one did have some injury. They moved it off into a parking lot, so it should not be a major factor for you. That was on the northbound side. Everything else looks good. You be careful on your ride in. Snelling has immediate need for an experienced customer service rep. It is a warehouse standing position that takes and fills orders. $11 to $12 an hour. Snelling, 382-4000. Captain Nick in the North Parkway, Popeye, Skywatch Traffic Center.
The PGA Tour's Corn Ferry Tour is coming to the Rocket City. Join us at the Ledges for the inaugural Huntsville Championship, April 29th through May 2nd. Experience the beauty and drama of the course firsthand. Witness golf's rising stars chase their PGA Tour dreams. Cheer on the future of golf up close and personal. Tickets are on sale now at HuntsvilleChampionship.com.
Hey, this is Justin with the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. As we all get back to a new normal, I just wanted to let you know about the best bar and grill spot in North Alabama with the best entertainment as well. It is the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. Every Monday night is steak night. Every Thursday night is bike night. Plus, we have the best food around, from the Mexican pasta to the best Cuban sandwich you could ever ask for. It's all at the Furniture Factory, located at the corner of Meridian and Pratt. Find us online, FurnitureFactoryBarGrill.com.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner of University Kia, here letting you know we are proud supporters of Madison Academy football. And a quick shout out to my son, Avery Seaton, number 19. Stop into University Kia today and shop our large selection of new Kias, including our all-new Telluride 8-passenger SUV, the stylish new K5, and the sporting new Seltos. Visit universitykia.com to view all our great offers and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia today, because we want to see you in the Kia. Go Mustangs!
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
This is Steve Moulton from The Drive. Join us this afternoon from 5 to 7 with Wes Neighbors and me. Now back to Talkin Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Brian went to voicemail.
Monday morning, and we need to change our conversation. We talked a lot about the NCAA basketball tournament, and we'll continue to do so until we crown a national champion. But we also need to update everyone on some spring football and some baseball and everything that's going around. And we talked to Travis Reier in the last segment, but now we need to work our way down the state a little bit and check in with the Auburn Tigers.
Yeah, we are efforting to reach Bryan.
I'm calling him back.
He has not answered us yet. Hopefully we'll get him on the line from auburnsports.com, part of the Rivals Network. Been a great friend of the show. We were a little bit behind because we had to put up with the Clown Patrol, known as Jeff from the borough.
Voicemail from Brian.
So, hopefully we'll be able to effort to get Brian on in a few minutes. But before that, we know we have another good friend of the show, Holding, the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, and he's in a very good mood. They handled FSU because I had FSU knocking them out of the tournament. But they're a very good basketball team. We've talked about it ad nauseum. They're going to have a chance to win the national championship, and that is the Michigan Wolverines and Wolverine Dan. who is holding on the Neighbors Wealth Man.
We got Brian there.
Yeah, we'll get to Wolverine down here in just a little bit, but we do got
Sorry
Bryan
about that,
Matthews.
man.
We got Bryan Matthews.
We did get a hold of Brian. Brian, welcome back to the show. AuburnSports.com, part of the Rivals Network. Thanks for rejoining us as always, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good morning.
Morning, Brian. How are you, man? And I wanted to kind of have you join our conversation, and we're going to talk football. And that's what we're going to get your thoughts on early with Brian Harsin taking over this football program. But I wanted to go back and kind of have you put in context, because we brought it up on the show today about what a special year, it's hard to believe it's nearly 3 years ago, that Auburn had when they ran all the way to the Final Four, made history in the state. I thought it helped basketball tremendously. I still think it is. We saw what happened with Alabama last night, and Auburn lost in the same kind of heartbreak. What we've been saying is, again, it's so once you make a deep run in this deal, and that Auburn team kind of caught the imagination of really the entire country, it's very difficult to see it end unless you cut the nets down.
That's true. It really is. And, man, it was incredible for Auburn just a couple of years ago, to run through those blue bloods of Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina. And,
all in a row.
Then have Chuma get hurt there and, lose in that fashion to Virginia, in the Final Four with the double dribble and the shot and everything that happened. And but now, 2 years later, you really look on that moment as one of the best moments in Auburn history. So, I would say for the Alabama fans, the pain or whatever they're going through now, the disappointment will go away, and eventually they'll look back on a season where you won the SEC and SEC tournament and made it to the Sweet 16. It was a really fun and exciting season.
Well, yeah, and before I let Scott have his thought, that Auburn team going in was supposed to be good, like this Alabama team, but nobody saw that kind of run in that Auburn team, and that's what made it so special, Brian.
That's right. I mean, they just got hot at the end of the season and ran through the SEC tournament.
Sure did.
Basically went undefeated in March and didn't lose until April. Against Virginia. It was just crazy run they went on. I think they were maybe a 6 seed or something in the tournament.
Yeah, 5 or 6, something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Brian, obviously, I mean, basketball will still be center stage, and Bruce Pearl has a lot of question marks for next year. Who's going to stay, who's not? Is Sharif Cooper going to come back? Where's he leaning towards? JT Thor's got his name. It's a revolving roster right now for Bruce Pearl, and I know there's a million things going on. But how do you think that this roster next year will be for Auburn, and will they just kind of get back to that tournament and get back to the run where we expect them to be?
Well, I think most schools now are going to have to be prepared to go through roster changes like this every year. I just think that's part of college basketball now. I think one thing Bruce is going to make sure this team is not short of is point guards.
Yeah.
I think Sharif will probably end up going, I'll be surprised if he returns, but we'll see. But there's plenty of point guards and guards out there that Auburn can bring in to help this team out. And I think you're going to see them do that. And I'd expect JT Thor and the rest of the team mostly back intact. And they'll have a chance with all the experience they have coming back and the talent they'll have coming back and coming in with Jabari Smith and, that class to be a really, really good team next year. The only thing that really lacks is that experience. That 2019 team had that experience. Playing in the postseason and being disappointed, and they came back and made that run. This team hasn't had that, so that's the one thing that they'll be lacking a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but it is interesting though. We talked to Jake Crane last week, and he's told us about Theo Pinson. He's they've already got Zep Jasper from College of Charleston, but it sounds like Auburn would like to add as many as 3 guards out of the portal.
Yeah, I would not be surprised, especially if Sharif leaves. They'll go out there and find another shooting guard who can fill it up from the outside. That's an area they haven't been close to as good as they were back in 2019. With Bryce Brown and Jared, and another point guard or combo guard that can play that position really well. So they're not put in the position they were last year where they had to play basically wings at the point guard position. Really took away from last year's potential for that team.
Yeah, it really did. And now, Brian, to switch gears to football, I know you guys had an open practice you could cover. That's great. I envy you from being able to see a college football practice, because it really shows you things are starting to return to normal. I know you guys have had a chance to speak to Coach Harsin. What has been the early impressions of Auburn football spring practice in his first season so far?
Well, I mean, just from the top down, I'd say it's been really organized and really been out there with a purpose, and you can see that these players really appreciate their new coaches. They're excited to play for them. And, they're going through a process, especially on the offense, of learning a lot right now. So you can't really see them, out there in their full, glory competing for positions. But my feeling is defensively, this is going to be a really good team again. I think Derek Mason is really qualified as a football coach, really talented, a good motivator. And I think he's going to be a little innovative, too, with the way he uses the cornerbacks in the secondary. And then we'll see about the offense. A lot depends on that tackle position and how those guys progress and if they bring in anybody else. But, I think Tank Bigsby is a guy that you can build an offense around. He can have a monster year. The one thing I'll say about Auburn's offensive line is that they're really good run blockers.
Yeah.
And, even if they don't bring in a new left tackle, they can run block. And Tank's going to have a good year as long as he stays healthy.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was very interesting what Bryan Harsin said about what he kind of expects from the quarterbacks. Wants them first in the building and kind of what they're doing to kind of get Bo Nix kind of, I don't want to say straightened out, but get a little more positive production from Bo Nix.
Yeah, I think he's a great fit. Him for Bo and both for Bryan Harsin and Mike Bobo. Bo is that guy. He's been that guy from the start, born leader, always there, always trying to do more, and I think he's really impressed Harsin and Mike Bobo, the offensive coordinator, that whole staff right away. And, people really give Bo a hard time because of what happened last year. But a lot of that had to do with him not having protection and then not really believing in that protection, which makes a difference. When he was in passing situations. And I think, Harsin and Bobo recognize that and will do everything in their power to get that straightened out for him. And I think you're going to see a more sophisticated offense too eventually. I think the biggest, learning changes or the biggest position that has to go through the most right now is wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
There's also three best ones.
Yes.
And then you've got a bunch of young guys learning a lot of new stuff. Bo can pick it up pretty quickly because he's made to do that. But I think that position is going to take a little while to come around. But when they do, I think it's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, and the only negative so far is Jeremiah Wright. Seemed as though he was having a breakout spring early. And I know he made the move last year to defensive tackle, and he was really starting to impress and then suffers a torn ACL. You hate to hear that.
Yeah, you really do, because he was on his way to being maybe one of the more biggest surprise of the spring that I can remember in quite a while.
Right, wow, yeah.
Because, when he came in, he was a two-star at Selma.
Yeah.
Most people figured he was an offensive guard and a guy who was, more of a take a while to, and maybe he'll work himself or make himself into a player. But in his second year, he was pushing I guess Truesdale is a fifth-year senior now, maybe a sixth-year graduate.
Yeah, because he came back for another year, right?
Yep, and he was pushing him or maybe even working ahead of him at that nose guard position, and was really showing some things, not just in his run defense, but also an ability to pressure a passer in those situations. So disappointing for him, but that's a position, the defensive line, where Auburn does have a whole lot of depth coming back, and I think they really like their new coach, Nick Eason.
Mm-hmm.
Much different character as far as the way he coaches guys up, and I think anytime you have a change like that, it really energizes a position. I think you're going to see that from the defensive line.
Yeah. How cool was it, though, just to be inside Jordan Air and see a live practice, just to see spring football, since we didn't even get to see it at all last year?
First time I've sat through an open practice for 2 hours since 2008. So it was pretty crazy, to be honest. And if you think about it, this goes for every school across the country. There's nothing they do in spring that they need to hide. Anybody should be able to come and watch any spring practice. It doesn't matter who you are. It's not like you're going to give away your game plan for the opener or something. So I think it was a good move for Harsin. I think it got a pretty good turnout there, and I think the fans that showed up and the fans that heard about it and wanted to be there, they feel like they're just a little bit more invested in the program. And he sort of maybe sets himself apart from the previous couple of coaches that were there that were much more paranoid about letting people be around the players.
Yeah, that's a great point. And Brian, I wanted to switch gears last few minutes with you. We love Butch Thompson. We've got a great relationship with him. But right now, Alabama and Auburn both struggling on the diamond. But unlike some of these other programs in the SEC in baseball, there's inherited advantages with education lotteries and other things and building programs. And if you're Alabama and Auburn, if you get injuries, the depth usually just isn't there in a league that is this good when everybody you play has got big time talent. Talk about the tough start for Auburn baseball within the SEC. I mean, losing, getting swept at home, by Ole Miss and Kentucky. That's just really tough because we know this is a program just 2 years ago went to the College World Series. So it's definitely on the right track with Butch Thompson, but injuries are tough to overcome for squads like Alabama and Auburn right now.
It really is. And it's been really tough for Auburn. 0-6 in the conference. 5 of those losses have been by 2 runs or less. They've all been tight, close games that you look at this thing or this moment, if you could have changed it, it could have been a different outcome. So that can be really frustrating, I think, for fans and people who follow the program closely, and the coaches and players, of course. But you look at the pitching staff; they're projected, 3 weekend starters coming in. Jack Owen, Cody Greenhill, and Richard Fitz haven't pitched a weekend together yet. And Greenhill and Fitz have pitched, I think, 2 weekends together. So that's been the big issue. They've also had a couple of top relievers, Carson Skipper and Hayden Mullins, 2 lefties, get hurt too in early March. So that's really, really set them back from a staff standpoint. And it's just caused them to have to rely on some pitchers who, just aren't ready yet or are not quite there yet. And, it's been tough on them. But it looks like Owen and Fitz are on the way back. Mm-hmm. Cody Greenhill returned a couple of weeks ago and has been really good. And I think there's a possibility that Skipper and Mullins can be back this week. So there is some light there at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, we understand. Coach Thompson does such a great job, and hopefully they can get it turned around. Same way with Alabama, but this league is so difficult. I mean, when you're Alabama, they had number 1 Arkansas, then number 3 Ole Miss. So it's just you don't get really a chance to breathe in the SEC if you get banged up, and hopefully Auburn is going to turn it around quickly. We're happy to see some success Camden Hill's having, Bob Jones, freshman, both on the mound and at the plate. He's got a chance to be a really good player once
He's
again.
Gonna be special. Yeah.
Yes, I think so for Auburn. But again, Brian, we appreciate the time. Thank you for hanging with us there for a little bit. But let everybody know they can connect with you at auburnsports.com and, of course, your Twitter account.
Well, I appreciate that. And they can check us out at auburnsports.com, sign up for a free trial online. And they can follow me on Twitter at BMattAU.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
That was Bryan Matthews. Some good stuff there. You're right, Drew. Auburn baseball struggling off to an 0-6 start after losing an opening series to Ole Miss and then being swept this past weekend by Kentucky. That first one coming in extra innings and then lost the next 2.
And then Alabama, they were 3 outs away from winning the game. One of the doubleheader you heard here on 97.7 The Zone on Friday. The bullpen imploded, but they didn't have arguably their 3 best pitchers available the whole weekend. Connor Prelip has continued to be out, has not been seen since early in the season. Antoine Jean, one of their weekend starters, was not available, and neither was ace reliever Chase Lee. So Alabama and Auburn with a lot of pitching injuries, and you just can't overcome it a lot of times. Alabama also has been without a couple of – they got William Hamiter right now, one of their better hitters, who's out with an oblique injury. They just can't – they don't have the depth to overcome the losses against teams as talented as an Arkansas and an Ole Miss. It's just like taking a knife to a gunfight.
All right, we got to get a break in. Wolverine Dan, I know you're holding. We'll get to you right after the break.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Just got a wreck in Decatur. This one's on spring just off the belt line. Got a vehicle on its side there. They're paging it out with injury and possible entrapment. Had a wreck on 231 northbound just north of Patterson Lane. Minor injury there. They put it off in a parking lot already. From routine care to heart failure, Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialists have the expertise to care for all matters of the heart. Doctor visits are important. Please don't put them off. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
At Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, people call the award-winning burgers totally insane, which is a compliment because Bad Daddy's Burgers are just that. Chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness built with premium Angus beef. They're bold and they're bad. Pair one with one of their signature cocktails or assortment of local craft brews. Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, 2317 Memorial Parkway. Check out our menu and even order online at BadDaddy'sBurgerBar.com.
Progressive Motorcycle presents Road Wisdom from the Motor.
Half man, half motorcycle.
You never really stop riding in your mind.
Never.
Unless you're thinking of something else.
Like other thoughts.
Progressive Motorcycle also presents Roadside Assistance. Progressive Motorcycle for those who were born to ride. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked the reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
Tom Luganbill here for Woody Anderson Ford. When I was in the Tennessee Valley, one of the things that impressed me the most was the quality of the people. People like Bobby White and his team at Woody Anderson Ford. And now you can experience the tremendous new service lanes and showroom at Woody Anderson Ford at Jordan and Sparkman, or just stop by for breakfast or lunch at Henry's Mustang Cafe. And in Madison, visit Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, just south of 72. Like a great college football tradition, always there, Woody Anderson Ford.
This segment of Talkin Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com. Give us a ring, 888-644-ESPN. That's 888-644-ESPN. Please make a note of it.
Another public service announcement from
We are 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
All right, here we go.
It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Your tomorrow's headlines today, real fast. Trevor Lawrence making headlines over the weekend says that he is not going to attend the NFL draft. He is going to stay at Clemson and do it there. And is that much to do about nothing, really? I mean, is that
it's nothing.
It's his right. It's his choice.
Everybody's choice and right. It doesn't matter.
The other one is we lost a big piece to the college football world over the weekend. Howard Schnellenberger passed away. Of course, he really took Miami to prominence. He led Louisville. He took over programs that were non-existent, made them existent, even on Bear Bryant's staff back in the 60s. Lost a big piece to the college football world over the weekend.
Yeah, Coach Schnellenberger was a unique character. He was a Hall of Famer, but really, I think if he had stayed at Miami, and I think he would tell you that, the University of Miami, if he had stayed there and continued that, what turned into a dynasty, I think it would have even changed the narrative of what he's universally respected.
Yes.
But many people forget that he's really the one that got the ball rolling at Miami because they were fixing to drop the program. If it hadn't been for his wife talking him into taking the job, he turned it down. And going back there, they'd had 7 coaches, I want to say, in a 9 or 10 year period. They were thinking about dropping it. And, that's how important Howard Schnellenberger was to Miami.
Yeah.
And, and
he took over a lot of programs, and his record, Hall of Fame wise, you have to be like a certain amount of winning percentage.
Right.
He doesn't meet that. And so that is a big criteria as to why Howard Schnellenberger is not in the College Football Hall of Fame. But you got to look at what he did. He took over programs that were non-existent,
Louisville,
made them existent. And so his winning percentage early on was not going to be great.
Florida Atlantic.
Yes.
For whatever reason, timing, politics, he never got to be the Alabama coach because I think he would have done a great job. Replacing Coach Bryan. He understood Coach Bryan. He recruited some dude named Joe Willie Namath from Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. He was the offensive coordinator of the 1972 undefeated Miami Dolphins with Don Shula. This was a man that was just a football, encyclopedia.
Yeah.
He was a football savant, and he should be remembered that way as one of the greats, even though he never really stayed at any place long enough to build a legacy, but he still has a great lineage when you look back at who he worked for and what he accomplished in the sport of football.
All right, let's get out to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Wolverine Dan with us.
Sorry about the hold, Dan. We're ready
for
you. The stage is yours, brother.
And Schellenberger is who he is, and who I am. I'm a homer. Yeah, from Michigan, Wolverines, baby. Now, let's touch on some things here. I was doing a little investigation, and I found out some things. Now, Michigan has been to the Elite Eight in 8 years. Most appearances in the Elite Eight is Michigan. Nobody's better. And then, the most victories in the NCAA tournament belongs to Michigan since 2013, my man. How about that?
It's great, but it shows you how hard it is to win the tournament, but they haven't done it. They've been in the finals twice. It's hard. That's what we've been trying to tell people today who are disappointed that Alabama lost in the Sweet 16. It is probably in the top.
Calling it a disappointing season because of it.
And to me, it's one of the 2 to 3 hardest things to do in sports is to win the NCAA tournament and win 6 games in a row. It's very difficult to do, Dan. Very much so.
What's the other ones? I know one. I can say it already. Hockey.
Well, yeah, I guess you could say that. For me, it's probably I would say in my top 3, it would be to win the NCAA tournament and then to win the World Series in baseball. It's very difficult to do now, especially with another round of playoffs. And see, I'm not going to say hockey because I'm really just not a hockey guy. Everybody freely understands that completely with me. And probably the other thing is to win a major in golf. They're very difficult to do. To me, that's my top 3. Win a major in golf, and I'm not even a golf guy, but win the national championship in basketball. And then, as I said, it's just difficult to win the World Series in baseball. Look at the Dodgers. They hadn't done it since 1988 until they finally came back to beat the Braves in the NLCS and then finally won it.
Well, let me put you this way. Let's talk. I know we got much time left, so I got to fill this in real quick. I'm disappointed too because I wanted a piece of Alabama. I wanted to play Alabama. You know what?
I know you did.
Listen, every time I play Alabama, I don't care how many times I play them, I always want the shot to beat Alabama, even though I haven't. All right, I have in the beginning, years ago, we were pretty competitive against Bama, but now we're not in football. But you always want that shot, Trudy, because when that happens, you better just shut down your airways because I'm going to be going nuts.
Oh, I know. Okay. It would have been tough for Alabama. I wanted a chance to see if Alabama could measure up to Michigan. It was very close to happening. I do think that Michigan will soundly whip UCLA, even though now we know Livers is not coming back, but I think it's been several games. I think Michigan has adjusted. I think UCLA has made a great run. They've earned where they've gotten, but I just don't see Michigan's got too much balance. They got a really good point guard. They got a big kid inside that'll kill UCLA, and they got too much outside. I just think they got too many guys that UCLA won't be able to stop.
Well, Brown off the bench is key. If he stays like he's doing, if he does what he does off the bench, we're going to go even further. I'm telling you right now, this team is really poised. A great coach. There's a lot going for us right now. I'm excited about what comes tomorrow. I think we should be able to beat them, but you never know. They're a hot team right now, just like a hot.
Yeah.
If your hockey team's hot, you're hot. Your goalie's hot, you can win a lot of games. But I'm telling you, I think this Brown kid off the bench, and we've got the number 1 recruiting class next year. This could very well happen again next year. And, boy, the only sad thing is I wish this could be football, but it ain't. But you know what? I guess if that means we're a basketball school, hey, you know what? National championship's a national championship. I'll take it.
Well, true. But you still got to get through, the winner of Gonzaga and SC. That's not going to be easy.
All right. Thank you for the call.
Great year, though, for the Wolverines.
All right.
See, that's what's called a respectful phone call instead of just yelling at everybody. I'll tell you about Kentucky back in 1950.
In case you're wondering, the Pac-12 and the NCAA tournament drew 12-2. The SEC 7-4, the Big 12 8-6, the Big 10 8-8, the Big East 4-4, and the ACC 4-7. That is how your NCAA tournament numbers look.
Thank you to Bryan Matthews. Thank you to Travis Reier. Thank you to all the callers. More on award to Jeff. Everybody knows that. Have a nice day. We'll be back with you 7:01 a.m. tomorrow on Tuesday.
Have a good one, folks. Take it easy and stay safe.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
A wise man once said, "If you take care of old folks and children, everything in the middle will take care of itself."
Hi, I'm Danny Aldridge, lawyer in Alabama and Tennessee. In the next 20 years, the number of those folks over 65 years of age will more than double. In our golden years, the most important goal is to be treated with dignity and have control over doing what makes you grateful with those you love. At the Aldridge Law Firm in the Legal Town Center,